What's been the hardest thing that you've had to do since you became Prime Minister?
Many hard things. I don't know that
Hardest.
Hardest.
Have you been to see Trump?
Not yet.
Okay,
Not yet.
so you haven't done the hardest.
What would you do if the world you knew suddenly stopped making sense? If the rules that once kept economies stable, alliances strong, and nations safe all just disappeared? That's not a thought experiment. It's the reality unfolding right now. For Singapore, a tiny island of 6 million people caught between two superpowers, the challenge is existential. How do you stay secure when giants like the United States and China are locked in a silent tug-of-war over the future of the world? In an October 2025 Financial Times interview, Prime Minister Lawrence Wong didn't just answer these questions. He navigated them with clarity, poise, and strategic insight. Let's break down what Wong said, how he handled the tough questions, and what his responses reveal about Singapore's mindset in an unpredictable world.
Well, Prime Minister, Singapore is perhaps the most globalized country in the world. And you like rules, you like precision, you like mathematics.
We like stability.
You like predictability.
Yes, of course.
You like
Who doesn't?
stability. You must be having to adapt to a new world order.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit whether this requires fundamental change in the way that Singapore operates.
We are certainly in the midst of a great transition to a multipolar world, a post-American order and a multipolar world. No one can tell how the transition will unfold, but there is no doubt it will be messy and unpredictable, because America is stepping back from its role as global insurer, but there is no other country that's able to or willing to fill the vacuum. So we are in an uncomfortable position where the old rules do not apply anymore, but the new ones have not been written. And we must brace ourselves for more turbulence ahead. So what are we to do in this environment? I think we cannot afford to just wait for things to happen or hope somehow that things magically will fall in place. We have to take actions now, plan now and start taking actions to invest together in tackling the problems of the global commons, or in building new trade connections and keeping up the momentum of trade liberalization. So that's something that Singapore is keen to do. We can't do it alone, but we will do it with other like-minded countries.
From the very first question, the interview takes on a curious tone. The Financial Times frames Singapore through a narrow lens, as a nation of rule followers obsessed with precision and predictability. The remark that Singapore likes rules and mathematics may sound harmless, but it carries a subtle stereotype that the country's success stems from rigidity rather than creativity, from control rather than adaptability. That framing matters. It quietly positions Singapore as ill-suited for a chaotic new world, a place that might falter when the familiar rules no longer apply. It's the kind of Western shorthand that has long misunderstood Singapore's brand of order, mistaking discipline for dependence. Lawrence Wong, however, dismantles that assumption with calm precision. His response, that Singapore likes stability, is brief but decisive. In that moment, he redefines the narrative. Stability, he implies, isn't a weakness. It's the bedrock of resilience. It's what allows Singapore to remain steady when others panic. And as the conversation turns to global upheaval, Wong doesn't sound defensive or nostalgic. He's pragmatic, focused, and forward-looking. He acknowledges the end of the old order, the retreat of American dominance, and the rise of a messy, multipolar world, yet refuses to succumb to fatalism. His message is clear. Singapore cannot wait for clarity. It must act, adapt, and forge new alliances now.
Does Donald Trump have a point when he says that the US has been taken for granted, that it's been taken advantage of?
Some of it may well be justified in the sense that there may well have been free riders, so to speak, and countries do need to do more to invest in their own economic security and also stability. We do that in Singapore. We have never taken it for granted. We have consistently invested year by year in our own security and our defense, and also facilitated America's presence in the region. Certainly what the Trump administration has done is to motivate and catalyze many countries to do this self-reflection, and you see that happening now. More countries are indeed investing in defense.
There's certainly self-reflection.
So
you
it is
see it.
happening.
You see it.
This question carries a subtle but pointed framing, not naming small states outright, but implying that many countries, possibly including Singapore, have benefited disproportionately from US leadership without contributing enough in return. It's a narrative that casts America as an overburdened provider and its partners as dependent beneficiaries. But Wong's response is tactically calibrated to neutralize that perception. He doesn't reject the premise outright, but reframes it constructively, acknowledging that some countries may have underinvested while clearly distinguishing Singapore as an exception. By highlighting Singapore's consistent self-reliance in defense and its role in facilitating America's presence, he asserts agency and responsibility. His tone remains pragmatic and calm, reinforcing Singapore's image as a disciplined state that contributes to regional stability rather than exploiting it. This exchange reaffirms Singapore's credibility as a reliable partner, independent yet strategically aligned.
Do you think ASEAN could become a more credible bloc, politically but also economically?
Certainly, we have ambitions to do so.
I know that this is what Singapore hopes for, but are there concrete moves to make it such?
I wouldn't, first of all, belittle the achievements of ASEAN. Southeast Asia is a very diverse region, highly complex, made up of so many different ethnicities, languages, religions. It used to be called the Balkans of Asia because of the geographical fragmentation and the potential for instability. And yet, all these decades, since the end of the Vietnam War, Southeast Asia has been able to maintain relative peace and avoided major conflicts, and a lot of it is credit to ASEAN. ASEAN is certainly not perfect, but it is indispensable. And we are continuing to build on the foundations that have been laid. There are plans to accelerate ASEAN integration to make ourselves a more attractive and competitive single market. And in some ways, the tariffs imposed by America have indeed catalyzed and motivated ASEAN leaders to come together with more urgency on this endeavor.
The Financial Times frames the question in a way that subtly challenges ASEAN's credibility, both politically and economically. By asking whether the bloc could become more credible, the interviewer implies that ASEAN currently falls short, pressing Wong to go beyond vague statements. But Wong navigates this masterfully. He avoids direct confrontation with the implied criticism by reframing the issue. ASEAN's complexity and diversity, historically a source of instability, are presented as achievements in themselves. The Balkans of Asia analogy serves multiple purposes. It underscores Singapore's nuanced understanding, subtly elevates ASEAN's accomplishments, and deflects the implied judgment. From there, he smoothly pivots to the actions that ASEAN has taken so far, signaling real action without overcommitting. Wong's response positions Singapore as both a pragmatic realist and a proactive catalyst, emphasizing progress and action without sounding idealistic or dismissive, all while carefully sidestepping direct criticism.
So there is a growing sense in the region that the US under Trump has turned its back on Southeast Asia. Do you agree?
The actions of the tariffs have certainly impacted America's standing in Southeast Asia. There is no doubt. But I would say all Southeast Asian countries still recognize that America remains the largest investor in the region. Not China. China is the largest trading partner. But as far as FDI flows are concerned, America remains the largest investor. America still has significant stakes in Asia, and all of us in Southeast Asia want to maintain good links with America. And that's why many countries have had extensive negotiations with the US, and eventually they have landed on slightly lower tariffs.
The question from the Financial Times is clearly designed to put Singapore on the spot. By asking whether the US under Trump has turned its back on Southeast Asia, the interviewer is really testing how much confidence Singapore still has in America's role in the region. But Lawrence Wong doesn't take the bait. Instead of responding emotionally or politically, he calmly shifts the focus to facts, pointing out that while China dominates trade, the US remains the largest investor in the region. That move changes the tone of the conversation completely. Rather than debating perception, he talks about substance. It's a smart, steady answer that shows Singapore's trademark approach. Stay neutral, stay practical, and base arguments on data, not drama. Wong manages to acknowledge the concern without sounding defensive. A fine example of how Singapore handles tough questions from the international media.
I know that you are under pressure to stop US advanced chips from getting to China, right? Advanced chips that you get in Singapore. What are you doing to stop these flows?
Well, our position is very clear. We've established a business hub on the basis of our reputation for rule of law and trust. And so we are determined and fully committed to maintain the integrity of our business environment. We will not tolerate businesses violating our laws. We will take strict actions. And where it comes to export controls, we will also not condone businesses or individuals taking advantage of their association with Singapore to circumvent the export controls of other countries. So where America is concerned, what we have done is put in place robust arrangements so that the US government can take actions, investigate companies of interest in Singapore if they so wish. And we will also extend similar arrangements for other countries if they would like also to have the same treatment where it comes to their export controls. Because nowadays, export controls is not limited to America only.
This question hits at a pressure point for Singapore, being caught in the crossfire of the US-China tech rivalry. The way the interviewer frames it makes Singapore sound like it's already being forced to pick a side, as if neutrality is impossible and compromise inevitable. It sets up a high-stakes trap, with possible implications that Singapore's credibility and business hub could be at risk. But Lawrence Wong doesn't fall into the trap. His response is clear, measured, and unapologetically Singaporean. The country's laws and reputation are non-negotiable. He reframes the issue from a forced choice into a statement of principle. Singapore isn't bending under pressure. It's defining the terms on which it engages. By highlighting strict compliance with domestic law and international export controls, Wong turns potential vulnerability into a demonstration of strength. Even more importantly, he signals that Singapore can play a neutral, facilitative role, allowing other countries to enforce their rules, not just the US, without compromising its own standards.
But doesn't a country like Singapore then have to make a choice? Because you have navigated a strong political defense relationship with the US and a very strong trade relationship with China. Do you not feel that you are reaching a point where this balancing act doesn't work anymore?
Having said all that I just described of China, we are talking about China today still not being able to or willing to replace America's role in the global system. Because it's not quite at the same level as America. It's still a middle-income country with a lot of domestic challenges. So there is no new global leader yet emerging, and we are in this very messy period of transition.
Yes.
And this
But so
will be a long...
What does Singapore do then?
Therefore, in this very unpredictable, messy period of transition, which can continue for years, maybe more than a decade, I think we will have to work with like-minded countries, as I said just now, find ways to preserve and reinforce the multilateral frameworks that matter.
The Financial Times continues to press Singapore on whether it would choose a side when caught between the two global giants. Again, it's a loaded question, subtly implying that Singapore's dual engagement with the US and China could become untenable, and that compromise may no longer be possible. Yet Lawrence Wong navigates the question with measured clarity, avoiding oversimplification. He acknowledges the scale and influence of both powers while highlighting the transitional nature of the current global order. His response reframes the challenge. It is not about choosing sides, but about leveraging the uncertainty to maintain autonomy. Wong also emphasizes multilateralism and alliances with like-minded nations as the tools for Singapore to safeguard its interests. This approach signals strategic patience. Rather than reacting to pressure from one side or the other, Singapore strengthens frameworks that preserve its relevance, influence, and operational flexibility. Wong's handling of the question demonstrates both realism and confidence, showing that balancing great powers is less about allegiance and more about agency.
What's been the hardest thing that you've had to do since you became Prime Minister?
Many hard things. I don't know that
Hardest.
Hardest.
Have you been to see Trump?
Not yet.
Okay,
Not yet.
so you haven't done the hardest.
We might have a chance to meet when he comes, if he comes for the ASEAN summits, which he has said he would.
Yes, because he has to sign the peace agreement.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure whether it's just for that, but if he comes to the ASEAN summits, there may be a chance to meet him. I've had a phone call with him late last year. It went well, but I'm sure there'll be opportunities to meet.
Okay, so we take that out. That's not the hardest. What is the hardest?
The hardest has been really in managing people. You don't realize the extent of it until you get into this job, right? Which is that I'm not just Prime Minister, I'm leading a party. I'm leading a party, I go into elections, and you have to then think about which are the members of my team who I have to drop, because I want renewal. And one of the keys to the PAP's success has been a full focus on renewing our team every election. And this is not easy to do at all. It's very easy to say, let's just continue with the status quo. I don't want to offend anyone. You know, it's okay, we all move along. But then if I do less of the renewal, I will pay the price for it 5, 10, 20 years from now. So having to look hard at the members of the team, speak to each one of them individually and say, I'm sorry, I'm not able to allow you to continue, I have to drop you. That was very painful.
This final exchange around the hardest challenge illustrates how interviews can embed subtle geopolitical pressure into seemingly personal questions. By repeatedly circling back to a meeting with Trump, the Financial Times implicitly suggests that a Prime Minister's true trial lies in these high-stakes international encounters, elevating the expectation of a dramatic, headline-worthy answer. However, Lawrence Wong responds with careful restraint, redirecting the focus to domestic and institutional challenges. He emphasizes the difficulty of managing party renewal and making tough personnel decisions, choices that have long-term consequences for governance stability. In doing so, he subtly sidesteps the implied geopolitical trap, refusing to equate meeting a world leader with the hardest test, and instead highlighting the human and organizational dimensions of leadership. From this interview, one thing is clear. Lawrence Wong not only conveys Singapore's strategy, foresight, adaptability, and decisive action, but does so with remarkable poise and deftness. His ability to navigate tough questions while projecting confidence underscores why Singapore can remain steady in an increasingly unstable world. Perhaps that's the real secret to its resilience. A small nation, guided by careful leadership, staying grounded even as the rest of the world spins into uncertainty. Yet, Lawrence Wong is not the first Singaporean leader to demonstrate such skill and composure. Singapore's founding Prime Minister, Lee Kuan Yew, was renowned for his sharp intellect and calm demeanour when confronted with tough questions from the Western media. Want to know what he was asked and how he responded in one of his most challenging interviews, facing a probing journalist on BBC's Hard Talk? Watch this video to see a breakdown of the exchange and discover how Lee masterfully handled the intense pressure.